Have you ever wondered how much of a markup you're actually paying for certain LEGO themes such as Harry Potter, Disney, or Star Wars due to licensing costs? Some of these sets seem to be priced quite a bit higher than LEGO's own IPs such as Ninjago or Friends. So this past weekend, my husband and I did a little research project to actually quantify how much we spend in licensing, and it's pretty crazy. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Emily. So today I am not Emmasaurus. Emmasaurus is gone. Today I am Professor Source because I'm about to drop some knowledge about IP and how much LEGO sets actually cost. So recently I've gotten a lot more into the Friends sets, and I was looking at the Friends vs. Disney Princess sets recently at Target, I think. And I was like, hey, these Disney Princess sets cost more than the Friends sets. That seems weird because they're very similar, right? They both have the mini doll thing going on. They're both colorful, they're bright and fun. The marketing strategy is very similar. So I was like, I wonder why that is. And if they do cost more, how much more do they cost? So being the nerds that we are, my husband and I spent the weekend kind of doing a mini research project to actually quantify it. And yeah, we were pretty shocked. It's pretty crazy. So here's a backstory on IP and what that actually is for those who don't know. IP stands for intellectual property. So essentially when LEGO wants to make a LEGO set revolving around Star Wars or Disney, they don't own those rights. They don't own the rights to Star Wars or the characters in it, or Disney. They don't own the rights to Mickey Mouse or anything like that. So LEGO has to reach out to Disney, and they come to an agreement where LEGO pays Disney X amount of money to be able to use those characters and those themes in a LEGO set. And those sets will typically cost a little bit more because LEGO is paying not only the fees to create the LEGO set and pay their own employees and, package it, whatever, they're also paying money to Disney to be able to use those themes in a LEGO set. And my husband and I were thinking recently, like when you look at a $100 Harry Potter set, for example, and you compare it to a $100 Disney set, the Harry Potter one seems like a better value. So that was just really interesting to us. We actually just really wanted to quantify how much more you're paying per LEGO theme. And I'm gonna take these glasses off now because there's a pretty bad glare and they kind of give me a headache. There we go. So in order to even do this project, of course, we need data. And we grabbed all of our data from Brickset, and we only used LEGO sets from 2020 just because I don't know how their licensing changes year to year. I don't know how much inflation is for LEGO sets. Like, I didn't want to overcomplicate anything or have messy data or anything like that. So I just kept it simple and only included sets from 2020. And so then we copy and pasted our data from Brickset into an Excel table. And that came with information such as the LEGO theme, which is absolutely essential to this because that's kind of the whole point, is quantifying it by LEGO theme. It also came with the price and how many pieces. So of course from that you can get the price per piece, which is also essential. Next, once our data was actually in an Excel sheet, we just went through and cleaned it up, made it into a more workable format because it was kind of messy at first and it was just hard to work with. So just some basic data cleaning. And part of this process involved better categorizing the LEGO themes from which the rights come from. So for example, Harry Potter comes from Warner Bros. Mario comes from Nintendo. Disney is this whole umbrella containing Disney, Disney Princess, Star Wars, and Marvel. And then there's Universal Studios for Jurassic World, DreamWorks for Minions, stuff like that. And then finally, we calculated the average price per piece for each LEGO theme, and we did this as a mean, a median, and the slope of the best fitted line. We calculated these multiple averages because each of them do have their pros and cons, right? So when you look at the mean, if there's like a $20 set and an $800 set, that average of price per piece is really distorted because, of course, as we know, the larger the set, the lower the price per piece, whereas if there's a $20 set, the price per piece is probably pretty high on that. And then for the median, I feel like that's the best metric to use here for average, and as we know, the median is if you lined up all the price per pieces on this line here, this imaginary line, you would select that middle one, and that would be the median price per piece. And I feel like that's the least distorted out of all of these just because it seems a lot more fair. And then as for the slope of the best fitted line, I feel like that's the least accurate of the three. And if you can recall back to algebra in 8th grade or whatever, y equals mx plus b, that's essentially the m from y equals mx plus b. That's what that is, and that's what we're calculating, so it's really just getting the slope of the price per piece. None of those metrics on their own are perfect, but they're all useful, and it was actually kind of nice because it gave us a good range, because typically the lowest value was the slope, the middle value was the median, and then the higher value was the mean. So they gave us a really nice range there, which was pretty helpful. Alright, so now let's take a look at the actual data and the plots so that you can see what I'm working with. This is actually super cool. Okay, so here's our first plot, and this is all of LEGO's own IP. Down here we have the number of pieces plotted on the x-axis, and then the price on the y-axis. And all the themes included here are Creator Expert, City, Friends, Hidden Side, Ninjago, Creator, Speed Champions, and Monkey Kid. So just so y'all know, in the legend up here, we see the mean, median, and the slope, y equals mx plus b. That is, again, the m. And when all of these numbers here are very similar, the mean, median, and the slope, that means that there's not really any outliers. That means that the averages are very accurate, whereas when the numbers are a little bit more far apart, like we see in City here with 17 cents per piece down to 13 cents per piece, that means that there's a lot more discrepancy and that there might might be some outliers. So it's just something to think about. None of these numbers are wrong. It's just, they're all useful. They're just different. And they do have their pros and cons again. So it's nice to include all of those here. So while we're talking about city, let's just zoom in and look at this one a little bit closer up because I feel like it's the most interesting. So here we go. It is the city, that's in orange there. And the slope again is 0.13, so 13 cents per piece based on the slope of this data. And it ranges from 17 cents to 13 cents. So that's a very big gap. And these two sets up here are definitely altering that slope. So I really feel like the most accurate average is the median here at around like 16 cents per piece, because there are a bunch of these small sets down here. So that also alters it, especially since there's a bunch of these Lego City sets down here that probably do alter it and they distort it quite a bit, because there's always certain costs that they have for boxing and packaging and shipping and just like standard prices. So yeah, the smaller the set, typically the more expensive price per piece kind of thing going on. But then these two sets up here are, I think they're outliers because this one here is just way up there. That's just like way out of the way of anything on this line. That one's actually a like Sea Explorers set with a giant piece of a boat in it. So that makes sense. There's a giant piece. So I guess that makes sense for that set there. That's like about $150, is that right? Yeah. And then this one up here is $200. That's a main square and it comes with a train. So I guess there's an upcharge for train pieces. I don't really know, but that's what's going on there. And without those two sets in here, I feel like it would be quite a bit more expensive for the slope. So yeah, that's why I think 16 cents per piece for city is probably the most accurate. It's also quite high. That is very expensive for city sets. I don't know why it's so expensive, but that's what we're seeing here. And now let's check out the cheapest out of all of these, which is actually Speed Champion. So that's in the pink. The mean is 7 cents per piece, the median 7 cents per piece, and the slope is saying 6 cents per piece. So it's all very similar to each other, which means it tells me that there's not really any outliers going on. So as you can see here in the pink, it's one of the flatter slopes, and I mean, that kind of makes sense to me. They're pretty standard. There's nothing too special about them. The pieces are very standard. There's usually stickers instead of printed pieces. So overall, it just really helps to keep the price down. And now let's zoom back out and check out Creator Expert. So as I said earlier, usually the more pieces in a set means the price per piece goes down. And this one up here is the Coliseum. So that is a massive set. What is that? $550 to 9,000 pieces. That thing is huge, but it's definitely kind of, it's bringing that slope down. You know, this one, it has a very cheap price per piece, whereas if you look at these other blue pieces along here, I feel like that slope should be quite a bit steeper, but it's not. So this is another one of those cases where we want to look at the median or maybe the mean, and since they're the same, I would argue that it's 8 cents per piece for Creator Expert. There's usually a lot of pieces in these sets, so it's definitely one of the cheaper. They're usually large sets, so that all makes sense. And then as for Hidden Side, let's zoom in again to check that one out. For Hidden Side in the red here, it's actually priced pretty well. Do you remember when we all just like kind of bashed on Hidden Side for a while because it was overpriced? Turns out it wasn't. It was very fairly priced at about 10 cents per piece, which is kind of like the gold standard for Lego. Like 10 cents per piece is always what I've heard to be like pretty fair. And then in green here we have the Friends line, and the mean is 12 cents per piece, the median is 12 cents per piece, and then the slope is 10 cents per piece. That tells me that there might be some outliers, but it's overall pretty okay. So yeah, Friends is about 12 cents per piece overall. It's definitely a bit pricier. There's also mini dolls, there's new molds, there's different colors, there's fun pieces, so that makes sense to me. It definitely makes sense, but it's a little bit pricier than I thought it would be. And then as for Monkey Kid, let's just zoom in real quick and check out that one as well. So that's in the gray here. And that's pretty pricey per piece. It's like one of the pricier Lego themes at 11 cents per piece. And then the slope says 8 cents. But I think, again, I think median's the best way to go, y'all. I think median is the most accurate. So 11 cents per piece. It's a little bit pricier, but it's not too bad. It's cheaper than Friends, but so is basically everything else except Lego City. Okay, so now let's hop over to this Disney plot. This is all the Disney IP, including Marvel, Disney, and Star Wars. Again, the number of pieces on the x-axis, the prices on the y-axis, and man, these look pretty pricey. So again, we're looking at the mean, median, and the slope of all of these. And it looks like, just from the numbers up here, Disney's expensive. So Disney, the mean and median are both 16 cents per piece, whereas the slope is only 10 cents. However, what is that set? What is that set bringing it down? At $180, it looks like, yeah. So I think that orange one there is the buildable Mickey and Minnie set, but it definitely brings it down. Overall, Disney is definitely more like 16 cents per piece, whereas that set, I guess, is more like, it's cheaper than that. I think, I don't know how much exactly. I'm not going to do the math right now, but Disney overall is 16 cents per piece. And then Marvel is, oh gosh, yeah, Marvel has a big spread from 14 cents to 9 cents. That's pretty crazy. Marvel's in the blue here. I don't know what that set is there. I'm not really sure, but there's a ton of juniors and like really small sets, so I'm sure that has to do with that. And then if we look at Star Wars for a second, so for Star Wars, look at this green line. All the way up here, we have the Mos Eisley Cantina. So that's also altering some things. I think Star Wars would be a lot more pricey if we didn't have that one there. So the slope, I don't trust it, but because those numbers are all very similar, we have 12 cents, 12 cents, 11 cents. Yeah, I think Star Wars is about 12 cents per piece, Disney 16 cents, and then Marvel, I don't know, I would go with the 12 cents. I would go with that. Those are all pretty pricey. Those are definitely pricey sets, definitely pricier than Lego's own IP, which we expected, obviously, plus it's Disney, and we knew Disney licensing was always going to be a lot. All right, so now let's look at the data all in one place because I feel like that's really important. So for Lego original IP, the mean is 12 cents per piece, the median is 10 cents per piece, and then the slope of the best fit line is 7 cents per piece. Now, if you look at this blue line, this is all of that Lego IP we were looking at earlier, you know, so like Friends, Ninjago, Creator Expert, that kind of thing. We see this big outlier out here, and that is the Coliseum. That price per piece is very low for what it is, and it is definitely skewing this slope. It's skewing that slope down. So as you can see, 12 cents and 10 cents, this is a lot lower than that at 7 cents. I'm pretty sure that's just because of that one there. So if you removed that, it would probably be more like an average overall of like, I feel like between 10 and 12 cents is quite fair. Maybe 9, but yeah. Anyways, let's move on to Microsoft and let's just zoom in a little bit here so we can actually see what we're looking at. All right, so for Microsoft, it's in the orange here, and the mean price per piece is 10 cents, the median's 10 cents, and the slope is 11 cents. So that tells me that there's not really any outliers here. That means the average is just at about 10 cents, which is very fair. That is a very fairly priced Lego set. That Minecraft stuff, it's a pretty good price. And then let's check out Disney. We have to zoom out again a little bit, but that's okay. Disney here is in the green, and I believe that's the buildable Mickey and Minnie. Oh no, that's the Cantina. That outlier there is the Cantina because that includes Star Wars and Marvel as well, of course. All right, so now let's zoom in a bit, and there we go. The mean is 14 cents per piece. 14 cents? Yikes. Okay, 14 cents per piece. The median is 13 cents, and then the slope is at 11 cents. So yeah, that tells me that there's some stuff in here that's bringing it down just based on, you know, these larger sets. It should be a little bit higher because there's a ton of really small sets. So like, let's zoom in a little bit more here and just see how many there are. All of that green there are very small Disney, Star Wars, Marvel sets, which we get a bunch of. So that makes sense. Like that's definitely skewing things. And then DreamWorks, let's check that out again. Those are the red sets. Let's zoom in real quick. Yeah, that red set there, that is the buildable Minions. Super cute. I really want it. They're so cute. But yeah, that's such a great deal. That is such a good price for a Lego set, especially like if you look at all of these other sets over here. But when we look at DreamWorks overall, the mean is 13 cents, the median is 12 cents, and then the slope is 5 cents. So that tells me that this outlier here is bringing down the slope, which is why it's so important to take into account the mean and median as well. The slope is not enough to actually get like a real fair judgment of the price per piece. So 13 cents and 12 cents, that's quite a lot. That's quite pricey. It's cheaper than Disney, but not by much. And then let's check out Warner Brothers. So, wow. Okay, yeah. Warner Brothers, if you're seeing what I'm seeing, so just from these numbers here, Warner Bros, the mean is 11 cents, the median is 10 cents, the slope is 7 cents. So if we look at that mean of 11 cents and compare it up here to the 12 cents, it's cheaper. If we look at the median at 10 cents, it matches Lego at 10 cents. And then the slope also matches Lego. That is telling me right there that Warner Bros licensing is cheaper than Lego's own licensing, which means that their licensing costs are basically nothing, which means that Harry Potter sets are indeed a better value than Disney sets, which breaks my heart. But we're looking at the numbers together. We can see that that's a fact. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy, right? That's so insane. Okay, so yeah, Warner Bros. Licensing is basically nothing. There's basically no cost to their licensing. And then let's check out Nintendo while we're at it. Let's check out Nintendo. We have to zoom out again. It's that brown line there. So again, that's the NES out there. That is definitely skewing things. But when we look at Nintendo, we can definitely see it skewing things because that slope is half. It's half of the mean and median. 14 cents versus 8 cents. The NES is definitely bringing things down, but I also think that it's just because the Lego Super Mario line is quite pricey. It's not the best value. You're getting really cool stuff. I have all of it. I love that line, but it is not the best value. 14 cents per piece on average is woof. And in Universal Studios, y'all, man, those dinosaurs cost a fortune. Let's check that out. So that's the pink. Let's just zoom in again and check that out because it's pretty crazy. So yeah, this the Universal Studios, the mean is 18 cents per piece. The median is 16 cents per piece. And then the slope is 16 cents per piece, which tells me, because these are all very similar numbers, that tells me that there is nothing being skewed. There's no outliers bringing it down. There's no like crazy expensive sets that bring down that price. It's just really expensive. Looking at these numbers, man, you're getting ripped off on these Universal Studios sets. They're cool, I want them, but they are expensive. Nintendo's expensive, Disney's expensive, DreamWorks, it's mostly expensive except for that one set. Like, go get that. That is a great deal. That buildable Minions, do it. It is a great deal. Microsoft is very reasonably priced, and somehow they're paying less for Warner Bros. Than they do for their own IP, which doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, so I know that was a ton of information. Thank you so much for letting me go through that with y'all. I actually think that's really cool. I hope you did too. So now you're probably asking, like, what actually is the price markup for these? I saw a lot of data, I saw a lot of plots, but like, what does it mean? So I'm about to tell you with this beautiful chart I just made. So on the left here, we have the licenses from Microsoft, Disney, DreamWorks, Warner Bros., Universal Studios, and Nintendo. And then on the right is the price markup. And this is essentially how much more or sometimes less you're paying for the licensing fees in comparison to LEGO's own IP. So let's start at the top with Microsoft. It's between negative 20% to 43%. And I know I said this earlier, but the Microsoft licensing is a great deal. Some of the sets cost less than LEGO's own IP, which is really cool, but it goes up to 43%. So there's definitely a range there. And then for Disney, we knew that was gonna be pricey, y'all. We knew it. So for Disney, it's between 13% more to 38% more. So you're paying that much more just because Disney owns the rights to whatever's in that LEGO set. I mean, I know that was expected, but I don't like it. Moving on to DreamWorks. And this ranges from negative 33% to positive 19%. So that's pretty crazy. That means that some of these DreamWorks sets cost less than LEGO's own IP. I don't really understand that, but it's pretty cool. I'm happy about it. So yeah, the DreamWorks sets are a very good deal. And then Warner Bros. Moving on to Warner Bros. Licensing, this is again Harry Potter, and we're paying not that much more. Look at this. The most markup we're seeing is 8% for Warner Bros. 8%. Look at all these other numbers here. Look at the max range on all these other ones. We have 43%, 38%, 19%, that's not too much. 60%. Seeing a max of 8% for Warner Bros. Is crazy to me. So yeah, Warner Bros., those Harry Potter sets, man, those are a steal. Those are pretty cheap. Those are very cheap. Down to negative 4%. So that means that it's priced basically at what LEGO prices their own IP, which is really cool, really interesting. I didn't realize how close to LEGO's own IP this was. I thought it'd be a little bit more, so that's just really surprising to me. And then moving on to Universal Studios licensing, we're seeing numbers from 36% to 60% more than LEGO's own IP. That is a lot. That is a lot more than I expected. To be fair, I don't really think too much about Universal Studios or those Jurassic World sets at all, but like, I wasn't expecting those numbers. I thought Disney would be like the top, like way too expensive. Turns out it's Universal Studios all along. Who knew? But seriously though, these numbers are basically double Disney's, right? So 36 versus 13, 60 versus 38. That's really crazy. I'm shocked, honestly, super shocked. And then finally, let's move down to Nintendo, where we see a price markup between 18% and 28%. To be fair, it is less than Disney, it's less than Universal Studios, but it's more than quite a few of these. So it's right in the middle, I would say. There's definitely a markup. You're paying more because it's Nintendo. So overall, the two that I'm most surprised about here are definitely Universal Studios and Warner Bros. Universal Studios, 36 to 60% markup is insane. Again, to be fair though, there's a lot of new molds in those sets. There's the dinosaurs, there's the minifigures they have to make of these different characters, so I understand it, but yikes, that's a pretty big markup. And then Warner Bros, that's cheap. That is way cheaper than I thought it would be. Negative 4% to 8%. That's basically saying it costs just about what LEGO costs, which we saw earlier, but man, that's like no markup at all. Harry Potter, they're basically just getting that license for free. So if you're a Harry Potter fan, kudos. I don't collect Harry Potter, so that actually does not impact me. I just look at the Disney markup and I'm like, oops, this kind of sucks. Sucks to be a Disney fan. But anyways, I really hope you found this informative. I certainly did. We had been thinking about this for a while, like what is the price markup between Friends and Disney Princess, LEGO versus other IP. So it was really cool just kind of quantifying this and seeing these numbers here because they're shocking. Like this is really crazy what we're paying just because of the licensing. And again, I know that's necessary. I know that LEGO has to pay Disney, they have to pay Nintendo, etc. But like that is a very big markup. But I am really curious though. Y'all know what I'm most shocked about here. Universal Studios and Warner Bros. What are y'all most shocked about? What did you see here and you were like, what? Because I need to know what y'all think about this. This is just really interesting. I know people talk about this all the time, like the licensing costs. What does it cost? Like, why is Disney so expensive? That kind of thing. This was actually a really fun little analysis to do. So please leave me a comment. Let me know if you want to see something like this again in the future. And if so, like, do you have any ideas? Because we're nerds. We like data. We like doing this kind of stuff. So please, if you have any more ideas on like what kind of data analysis we could do with Lego, please let us know. And if you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe. It's free. Lego's expensive, but subscribing's free. So make sure to hit that subscribe button below. I'd appreciate it. Anyways, thanks all for watching, and I'll see you next time.